What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday, mainly covering the NFL, but we also will sprinkle in some NBA as the season's quickly approaching. MLB, the playoffs, we'll do some predictions with that, as I like to keep up a little bit with baseball. Unfortunately, my Twins kind of stink, but it is what it is. And then also NHL as the season, is getting ready, and I'm ready for my Minnesota Wild to have another first round exit. But with that being said, we are in the heart of NFL season. Week 2 officially ended last night, and we got two interesting games, two different games. Tampa Bay, Houston. I took Tampa Bay. It was very 50-50. I honestly my mind was telling me Houston at home opener defense, pretty, I think was due to play great and the offense maybe to have a little bit of a bounce back. And the first quarter was electric. Not what I was expecting at all. Houston's offense came out. CJ Stroud hit Nico Collins for a beautiful touchdown on the opening drive. And they also got a field goal in their next position to have 10 points. But Tampa Bay, their first two drives, 2 touchdowns, one on a beautiful screen of Mecca Ibuka, Baker Mayfield rolling on the play action, hitting the first receiver. I'm blanking on his name right now. But, Tampa Bay was going. Houston's offense was going. It was 14-10 early on the second quarter. We're like, is this going to be a shootout kind of game? And then the defense has settled in. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter were again pressure all over Tampa Bay's offensive line. It is very clear Tampa Bay is missing Tristan Wirfs right now. And then also Houston's offensive line, after keeping CJ Stroud protected for a little bit, the worries on the O-line definitely kind of started to settle in. They couldn't run the ball for a while, and the offense just became kind of blank again, where it's CJ Stroud just kind of running for his life back there, trying to hit plays, and it didn't happen. It was 14-10 for the longest time. In the fourth quarter, Houston blocks a punt, and they get no yards. Thankfully, Kyami Fairbairn is one of the best kickers in the league and hits a 50-plus yarder, despite Houston getting no yards on the block punt and being in Tampa Bay field position. But then Tampa, once again, just couldn't do anything. And then Houston finally comes up with the clutch offensive drive to take the lead on a beautiful Nick Chubb 25-yard run. It's good to see Nick Chubb back. In Cleveland, he was such a beast, one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the period of like 2020, 2021, 2022, before getting injured. And then it's just good to see him back, even behind the Texans O-line. He's still making plays. And CJ Stroud, they did enough on that drive to get it done. But then Baker Mayfield shows why he got paid. Even with the offensive line crumbling on like a 4th and 10, he's about to get sacked for the game. He somehow escapes and just runs for the first down, bulldozes. He's not sliding. He's taking hits, and he's letting guys like Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, freaks of nature know about it. And then they hit some just good throws to Mike Evans. And then I believe it was Rashad White banks it in. Him and Bucky Irving definitely got that run game going. And Tampa Bay, their run game was the main reason why they were able to win this. State in it for a while, and Baker Mayfield made the plays necessary when he did, had another MVP-like drive, MVP performance, not turn the ball over. I didn't believe he fumbled. He did have a couple fumble potential losses, but I believe they recovered those. So once again, no turnovers for Baker, at least in the INT department. And, that's all you need. Just give yourself a chance at the end of the game and to do it against one of the best defenses at home, desperate to not go 0-2 as the back-to-back AFC South champions, but they found a way. So Tampa Bay moves to 2-0, and Houston now in an 0-2 hole. Will they be able to come back and win the division? Will be interesting to see, because they were my pick. They did play two great teams in Tampa Bay and Rams. Thankfully, those are out of conference, so not as bad, but they really got to make sure they stack these in-division wins when they play teams like the Colts, who are 2-0, rolling with Danny Dimes, Jacksonville. That looks to be feisty this year. Yeah. And with that being said, the last game was at 10 p.m. East Coast, my time, man. Hate to see that. Unfortunately, I didn't watch any of this game. Just going to be honest when I'm giving my recap. I did take the Chargers. I was right on the Chargers, and, it was a good thing, because the Chargers, I think Herbert played carefree football, was slinging the ball around. Quinn Johnson had a big 60-yard reception, another touchdown. He seems to be finding his rhythm. Keenan Allen, a touchdown, some receptions. Len McConkey did his thing. And for the Raiders, obviously the story was this offense, no touchdowns, 9 points. Geno Smith, 3 picks. Anything over 10-plus air yards, had 0 completions. The 3 picks were all plus 10 yards. The Chargers defense proved, I thought they were going to take a step back. So far, they've proven they contained Mahomes in that offense really well, even though I know they're banged up. And they shut down the Raiders. The Raiders, I thought GNT might have a big game. That wasn't the case. I think he still had like 3-4 yards to carry, but nothing really explosive for the Raiders offense. And I don't know. I think it was just one of those bad games. You kind of got to scratch it. I would like to see them stick to GNT more, really give him like 20 plus yards. And Gio's a good quarterback, but he can be a little reckless with it. So I didn't really even like, even though he had a big game against New England, him throwing it that much, because when you do, you're asking for some turnovers. And when you're asking him to throw it a lot in a game that's still relatively close for a while, it could get out of hand. And unfortunately, it did. The Chargers, were able to do enough through the air, solid defense, trying to get that run game a little bit going with Marion Hampton and Najee Harris, and they took care of business. 20-9 win, a very Jim Harbaugh-like win. Herbert continues to play some elite football, and the Raiders, though, kept them in it for a while, held the Chargers offense to some field goals when they needed to, but still not a great look. If you're the Raiders, at home opener, you'd like to see a better performance, especially from your QB that you trade for. But still, they kept it competitive. They're still 1-1. Time to bounce back. And for the Chargers, this is huge. Not only 2-0, but 2-0 in your division. Obviously, beating the Chiefs in Brazil and then getting a road win in Las Vegas. Was coming off a good win against New England. So they shut them up. And to see what you're looking at the standings on my screen, I'm highlighted number 4, Darnold for MVP. That's my name. Going back to last year, as a Vikings fan. And I'll keep it. Why not? He proved me wrong. So we had a good week in picks this week. I only had 3 games wrong out of the 16. So 13 for 16. Not bad for your boy. I did get the Steelers, Seahawks wrong. I did have a gut feeling about that, but I trusted Pittsburgh at home. And unfortunately, things may have been different if obviously that kick return touchdown doesn't happen and Pittsburgh knows the rules, but it is what it is. Denver and Indianapolis is really 50-50. Win it if Denver doesn't jump over the kicker, kind of a BS call, but whatever. I like the Colts, so I'm not really mad at it. And then obviously my Vikings losing against Atlanta. Atlanta was just clearly the better team. And yeah, that was pretty much it. They got pummeled. That's the one game I really can't argue for at all. Kudos to Atlanta. But with that being said, what we're going to do now. We are officially at week 3. And so we're going to go game by game, give a little bit of analytics analysis and see what I did. And also in a later episode, I believe Thursday, we'll do our AI game picks. And I did beat AI this week. AI beat me by 1 game last week. I'll make sure to fully go over it, but I believe I did have the edge this week. I'll just get that back to you guys by how many games. But with that being said, our Thursday night football game, Miami versus Buffalo. Miami's offense looked better in their game at home against the Patriots. Still, though, when it mattered most, they couldn't get it done. That offensive line isn't great. Tua's going to make a mistake. Buffalo's at home. They can run the football. Josh Allen didn't even have the greatest game last week. He didn't need to. This Buffalo team is just elite. The defense had a nice bounce back game, holding that Justin Fields offense. They looked great week 1 to basically a shutout. Tyrod Taylor got a late touchdown for them. Buffalo is one of the most dynamic teams. Josh Allen can make plays with his legs, with his arm, find his receivers. But James Cook, they can probably just run the ball this game, have a similar game plan to the Jets game. I think Miami can put up some more points. But, still, I like Buffalo like 30-17, 31-17 this one. Next up, Atlanta versus Carolina. Carolina came roaring back in that Cardinals game. It was good. Bryce Young showed some fight, trying to build off the end of last year. But the way Bijan looked, Michael Penix, that front 7 was getting after it. I got to take Atlanta. Atlanta looks like they're going to give Tampa Bay a run for their money in that division. Bijan handed a couple times, so elusive. Tyler Algier is a great power back compliment to him. And then Michael Penix, turnover-free football, find his guys like Kyle Pitts, who looks rejuvenized, Drake London, obviously there. And that defense, James Pierce, them boys are getting after Raheem Morris, coach up a great scheme. Billy Bauman, Jesse Bates in the backfield. Kudos to Atlanta. I'm very happy for them, even though they did destroy my Vikings. They were a very impressive team nonetheless. Next up, Green Bay versus Cleveland. I think this is pretty much an easy dub for Green Bay. Green Bay's looked like the best team through 2 weeks. They had the road for the first time. Cleveland may have some more fight at home. Maybe that front 7 could get after Jordan Love a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't trust this Cleveland offense. Baltimore was able to expose the passing game. Green Bay will be able to do the same. They'll hand it off to Jacobs a lot. He'll eventually break through. Give me Green Bay to win this one. Next up, Houston versus Jacksonville, an in-division game. In Jacksonville, I am curious how Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. connection, will that continue to develop, because it has not looked good the first 2 weeks. And obviously, Travis Etienne has been rejuvenized. The Jacksonville defense did get, they had some turnovers in that game against, both Carolina and Jake Browning and the Bengals. But the way they lost it, I don't know. I think Houston will be able to get some things going in the run game with Nick Chubb. I think CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, they'll be able to do enough to get their first win on the season. I think Houston needs it more. They're desperate. 0-2. If they go to 0-3, their season's virtually done, and losing an in-conference game and an in-division game would basically do their season away. But with that being said, give me Houston. I think this will be a close game. It's in Jacksonville. They've shown it through the first 2 weeks with Liam Cohen. They can be feisty, but Trevor Lawrence has turned the ball over a couple times. I think Houston will be able to capitalize on some of those and get the dub. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals versus my Minnesota Vikings. So some news obviously broke since I recorded yesterday, which was Jacob McCarthy, high ankle sprain, out for a couple weeks. So it is Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning. I think my biggest X factor is if Christian Darrisaw plays, because I think they desperately need him back. Aaron Jones is also out. And, it's hard because I really do like my Vikings. I did have high expectations. I like the defense. I think they can, rile Jake Browning. Maybe Carson Wentz is better now than JJ McCarthy just because, he'll be able to read the whole field, maybe find Jefferson. But I'm not really going to be biased. The way the Vikings have looked has not been good, and Cincinnati's defense hasn't looked as bad as we thought. They did get some turnovers against Trevor Lawrence, even though Trevor Lawrence and that Jacksonville offense was moving. This one's pretty much a coin flip to me, but I feel like I wouldn't be a real fan if I didn't pick my team, in especially a 50-50 game. I think Carson Wentz might be able to do some things, just read the field, find 18. Sorry. A little cough there. I just think Carson Wentz is a professional. I think for at least a game or two, he'll be able to step in, and his offense will look a little bit better. Jake Browning has shown some good things back in 2023. He did beat the Vikings and Nick Mullins. So it seems like when the Bengals and Vikings play, it's a battle of the backups. But I'll give it to the home team here. Like I said, I think the Vikings defense is a little bit better. While they have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I think Jordan Mason will be able to fill in, find an RB1. Jefferson, Hawkinson's still there. Naylor's made some good plays. Hopefully, when Addison comes back next week, things will look even better. But with that being said, should be a great one. Give me the Vikings by field goal, but I wouldn't be mad if you picked the Bengals. This is really a coin flip to me. Speaking of coin flips, next one is Pittsburgh versus New England. New England's offense with Drake May looked way better. They were able to establish a running game, and Drake May utilized his legs when he needed to. The defense didn't look the best, Tua, Davis most, but they clamped up when it mattered in the fourth. Harold Landry, Milton Williams getting the game-winning sack, getting a crucial turnover when they need. This one's going to be very close because Alex Highsmith for Pittsburgh is out. I do think Aaron Rodgers and, DK Metcalf, that offense will look a little bit better than it did last week. I think Seattle's defense is just better than New England's, even though they're heading on the road. This should be a great one. I think, once again, this is kind of like a field goal, kind of pick 'em game, really. You can go wherever. TJ Watt, unfortunately, just really hasn't looked the same. I think he's had 3 pressures in 2 games, maybe a sack, maybe even no sacks. This defense just doesn't look great. Jalen Ramsey's made a couple plays, but that's really been it. I don't know. I think this game you can lean either way, but I'm gonna go with the home team here in New England. I liked what I saw from Jake May in that offense. If they continue to prove, can coach Mike Vrabel, continue to improve that defense, that front seven, can they get after Aaron Rodgers? I think that'll be the key for Pittsburgh if they want to win this game. I think Jaylen Warren will be able to do some things. Hopefully he is my starting flex in fantasy. He did good for me last week, actually. Had a big 65-yard reception. I do think it will be a close game, like 27-24. I think Pittsburgh's offense, like I said, will look a little bit better than it did against Seattle. But give me New England in this one. I think it'll be close, though. Can't really go either way. Both 1-1. But yeah, I like the improvements from the Patriots offense. Hopefully they continue that. Next up, Los Angeles versus Philadelphia. This is going to be a great game. Philly's offense hasn't looked the best through 2 weeks, but they've gotten it done on the road against Kansas City, at home versus Dallas, or specifically the passing offense. A.J. Brown, Smithy combined of like 100 yards through 2 games. Not really acceptable. The rushing offense has been good with Hurts and Saquon, though. And then for the Rams, the passing offense has looked electric. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I think that's been a great duo, trio, really. Kyron Williams on the ground. This is actually gonna be close. It's in Philly. I like Philly's defense has been really good for the most part. They kind of, after that first two drives against Dallas, really locked in. Vic Fangio's gonna have these boys ready. This one again is 50-50 to me. Do I take the road upset? I'm tempted to with the Rams. But I could also see but the Rams defense is so good. Like that front seven, Jared Verse, they really got after Philadelphia in that divisional game. Was the closest game they played all season. And it's still early. But it is going, West Coast to East Coast for LA. Will the time difference play a factor? Maybe, since it's at 1:00 game. But I'll go with the Rams. I just like what I've seen from them more. I think, they went out, got Devontae Smith to add another layer to this offense. That defense has proven to still be elite. That front seven can get after it. I like the Rams in an upset here. Maybe, a hot take, but I just haven't liked what I've seen from Philly. I fear like this might be like a Brian Johnson 2023 year where the offensive play calling just ain't it, because they've been very predictable when they are in single back. They run the ball. When they're in shotgun, they're passing. That's pretty predictable unless things start to change. I don't know. I think they're kind of just getting by on talent right now, and I think this will be a good wake-up call for them, and the Rams escape with a W. Next game, Tampa Bay versus New York. I mean, Tampa Bay's offense should be able to move the ball, run the ball with Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Baker Mayfield. Will find Mike Evans, Ibuka. I think their defense will be able to do enough to get Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields, who's ever starting. Maybe the Jets, defense could play and get some turnovers, and we see an upset, but I don't really see it. Tampa Bay's back at home, feeling that momentum from that 2-0 dub. Give me Tampa Bay. Indianapolis for Tennessee. I'm taking Indianapolis. They have not punted the ball the first two games. Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren looks like offensive rookie of the year already. This offensive line's good. I think Tennessee might be able to move the ball. We saw Bo Nix was able to. And Tennessee's offense, it's all about steps. They did look better last week against a very good Rams defense. They just couldn't capitalize in the red zone while they had 19 points, only one touchdown, 4 field goals. It's not going to do it. They settled for a lot of field goals against Denver as well. So, the defense may be able to keep them in it like they did with the Rams. I think, the Colts will punt. They won't have their way fully in division game, AFC South battle in Nashville. But I like the Colts. I think the talent on this team and the way they've been playing, I really can't pick against them. They lit up what was supposedly number one defense in the league that I called too. So, I got to give Daniel Jones his credit. Jonathan Taylor is great running game, and just use him out of the play action. Shane Steichen in that team has that offense rolling right now. The Raiders versus Washington, Jane Daniels has a knee sprain, so I'm not sure if he's going to play in this. I don't think he actually is, and therefore I'm going to take the Raiders. I know it looked bad, but they were still in that game with the Chargers. Geno Smith, I think, is due for a bounce back. He's still a good quarterback. I think GNT, Bowers, there's too much talent on this team. They got to start running the ball. The defense has been playing pretty good through the first 2 weeks, holding New England 13, the Chargers to 20. They have not been bad at all. So I like the Raiders in this one, especially just with Jane Daniels banged up. And I know they were playing the Packers, and the Packers looked amazing, but the offense has not looked great so far. Terry McLaurin, Jane Daniels don't look on the same page. So I like the Raiders in that upset, if it even is an upset. Chargers versus Broncos. This should be a great game. When these two teams played last year, we had very close endings in both. But with that being said, I can't bank on the Chargers losing this. I think for Denver, this is kind of going to be a mind game where they had that game in the bag. They had it won. He missed the kick, and then they got called for the penalty. The Will Lutz missed kick. And the Chargers, I think, all have all the momentum right now. 2 division wins, a chance to get a third at home. Quinn Johnson looks like he's taken that big leap. Lam McConkey still, is playing very well. Keenan and Allen. Omari Hampton's going to keep getting more involved. Justin Herbert's playing at MVP motivated level from that wild card game. People were starting to call him not franchise quarterback after that. And even I was a little bit skeptical. He shuts up. Jim Harbaugh has that defense still rolling like it was last year in number 1 points. They've been playing amazing. Getting turnovers, just getting after it. So I like the Chargers at home. I think it'll be a close game because I think Denver's defense will bounce back a little bit. But Surtain might still be a little bit banged up. And I think the Chargers just have too many weapons. And they won both games last year. I think they have the Denver's number, and they'll be able to win this one. New Orleans versus Seattle. New Orleans, Spencer Rattler's played some good football. I told y'all, I'm a big Spencer Rattler guy. 3 touchdown passes. They kept it close against the Niners, who, with Robert Saleh, looked very good in week 1. New Orleans, showed them out. They kept it close, but that defense still in it. They made Mac Jones look like an MVP candidate, throwing for 3 touchdowns. I think Seattle's offense will carry the momentum in from that game. And I think Seattle's defense, this is New Orleans' first road game of the year. I think Spencer Rattler will get a little bit rattled in this game in Seattle. Just that Mike McDonald defense, they know how to get after it, blitz the quarterback, throw him off tempo. This is my lock of the week. Despite how New Orleans has looked the first couple weeks in that environment, I think Seattle wants to protect home field. They want to get to that 2-1 start, and I think they'll carry momentum in. Jack Smith-Njigba looks like a superstar before our hands. Sam Darnold was able to find different guys like Cooper Kupp a lot more in this week 2 game. Wasn't solely Jack Smith-Njigba, and that running game with Charbonnet and Walker looked a lot better. And that offensive line, didn't get bullied like it did in the San Fran game. So I like Seattle. I like my boy Sam Darnold to get things done. Dallas versus Chicago. I like Dallas, and I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people expect. It's in Chicago, but the Bears defense, holy crap. I mean, if the Detroit had a field day, who's to say Dak and the Cowboys can't when they're got CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, one of the best wide receiver duos, Jake Ferguson, Javonte Williams look to revive, so they have a running game, unlike last year before Rico Dowdle kind of popped off at the end, where they were relying on just Zeke Elliott. They look, that offensive line looks like it's going to keep getting better. I think this will be a close game, though, because Chicago will be able to put up points. Caleb Williams made some good plays in that game. Him and Rome seem to have a good connection. And yeah, DeAndre Swift, hopefully he'll be able to run for some yards. I think, for the Cowboys, though, that secondary is still a big question mark, because if Brandon Aubrey isn't human, they're 0-2 with a loss, with 2 division losses, but they get it done. That offense is still super electric. And, there's no Malik Neighbors on the Chicago team, despite how much I like Rome. And I mean, just the disheartening for Chicago right now, 0-2 with a game you choked away against the Vikings, another division loss with the Lions. Their season's on the line, this one. I think they'll be desperate. They might come out hungry, but Dallas, I think, just has the talent right now in Chicago with Ben Johnson. It just seems a little chaotic. But I think it'll be closer than people expect. I like Dallas 28-24 in this one if I had to give a score prediction. Next up, Arizona versus San Fran. I assume it's going to be Mac Jones in this game again. Him, McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, they all still looked amazing. Trent Williams had a nice bounce back game. That defense did get lit up a little against Spencer Rattler, but Arizona still hasn't been that impressive. They were up 27-3 or something like that on the Panthers. Then Carolina scored like 19 in a row. I'm like, holy crap. And because Arizona is my NFC West winner, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out my season predictions just to see how good I'm looking so far. They are 2-0 though. They need this one though, and that's why I'm picking the Cardinals. It's kind of a double down on them winning the division. They need this one. No Brock Purdy nor George Kittle. They got to win this one. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison. They have to get going. Trey McBride. This offense hasn't looked the best. James Conner really hasn't been that efficient. I think this is the week they need to set the tone, and they have a great chance to start off 3-0. I know it's a tough going on the road. San Fran is still a good team. They got a lot of talent, but Arizona does too. And Kyler Murray, he needs to set the tone for also my fantasy football purposes. I need him to just be better, because Carolina in New Orleans, you got 2 wins, which is great, but definitely would have liked to have been more than just some one-score games that they've been. So with that being said, give me the Cardinals. I think it'll be a great game, though. Mac Jones, McCaffrey, but I'm kind of banking on the Cardinals defense getting 1 or 2 turnovers on Mac Jones. I think he won't play a perfect game, basically like he did against New Orleans. And then our Sunday night football game, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New York Giants. Both teams 0-2, both season on the line. The Giants offense, I think the Giants were the only team that were encouraged by week 2 loss. That offense looked great. Russell Wilson was throwing the ball all over the yard, 400+ yards. Malik Neighbors, Wendell Robinson, I believe, had like 150 yards, another touchdown. They were just slinging rock, and you love to see that. The running game wasn't that great. Tyrone Tracy didn't do great. Skyboo had like 50 yards in a tutty, but he's kind of, just a power runner, not really going to see the field all that great. I think somewhere in the middle, the Giants offense won't be as bad as it was in week 1, won't be as great, obviously, as they were in week 2. I think somewhere in the middle, but Kansas City, I think, will just win this one just because I trust Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's pretty much that simple. Xavier Worthy should be coming back, so even on that shoulder injury, that'll be a big boost. I think Travis Kelce will want some revenge for that drop that led to the pick that he had in that Philly game. I think the Chiefs defense, did a very good job last week. I think they'll be able to get after this Giants offensive line. And for the Giants defense, they got that second secondary is weak. So Kansas City might be able to hit some big plays in this one. That front seven, really, they had some plays. Brian Burns had a sack, and, Abdul Carter is still, getting his feet under him. Kayvon Thibodeau, will they be able to get enough pressure around Alba Holmes? Maybe. But I just trust the best quarterback in the league still to deliver KC a win, because I cannot see them going 0-3. And if they do, they are definitely not making the playoffs. And then a Monday night game. We've gotten blessed with a lot of great games this week. It should be a fun one. But my record also may be really bad because of it. Detroit versus Baltimore. Detroit, talk about bounce back of the week, get dominated by the Packers. Everyone's saying frauds, might not make the playoffs. I wasn't that quite overreactionary, even though I'm a Vikings fan. I wish the Lions are still a very good team. 52 points. Jared Goff, 5 touchdown passes. Amon-Ra, 100-plus yards, 3 touchdown passes. Jameson Williams hit some deep plays. Gibbs, Montgomery both scored. That offense is going to be electric. The defense with Brian Barnes, Aiden Hutchinson got his first sack back. Kirby Joseph making plays. I think the Lions are a great team, but they're not on the Ravens level. And the Ravens, I think, even though it's just proven, Derrick Henry didn't have the best week last week, that's no worries. Lamar can throw for 4 touchdowns. Week 1, I know they lost. Derrick Henry, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. They just find different ways, and that defense is elite. That secondary is one of the best in football. I think they'll be able to do enough to contain Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams. But it's going to be a great game. I think Sam Laporta might be able to do some things in this one. But I think the Ravens just have the slightly more talent. And I think just for me, in this one's going to come out of QB. And while Jared Goff's great, top 10, he's not Lamar Jackson, which is the most talented QB to touch this earth. And in my opinion, I think this will be a great game. I think we might see, it's going to be good. Detroit's defense, I think, will be able to hold their own for a little bit. Ian Hutchinson, trying to chase Lamar Jackson. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. But give me the Ravens to win a close one. Like, I'm trying to think. I'll go 30-24, and that will get me to 54 combined points in this week. So give me the Ravens. I think it'll be a great one, though, nonetheless. Jahmyr Gibbs should be able to, Adair Montgomery, they're going to pound the ball. They're going to play some Dan Campbell football. I'll enjoy to see them go up against this Ravens defense. But with that being said, so just to recap, I have Buffalo beating Miami, Atlanta beating Carolina, Green Bay beating Cleveland, Houston beating Jacksonville, my Vikings and the battle backups being the Bengals, New England over Pittsburgh. I think starting with this Houston-Jacksonville game, these next 3-4 games, Rams, Eagles, very 50-50. Those will be 4 I'll be keeping my eye on. I have Tampa Bay beating New York, Indianapolis beating Tennessee, Las Vegas beating Washington, another 50-50 game just with Jane Daniels' injury. I'm not 100% sure. Los Angeles Chargers over Denver should be a great game. Another 50-50 one. Seattle over New Orleans, my lock of the week. Dallas over Chicago, not like a 50-50 game, but I'm like 60-40 in Dallas. Arizona over San Fran, another 50-50 game for me. Kansas City over New York, and then Detroit over Baltimore, which is another 50-50 game. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on those like 7 games that I just listed, because they could go either way, and I'll be make sure to stay tuned for my AI analyst picks where we run it through the data and see what they think. But with that being said, let me know your guys' thoughts. What were your biggest week 2 takeaways? Did your favorite team win? Who are your, frauds, as they say, or no, just contenders, pretenders? And let me know what you think of my week 3 picks. What do you agree, disagree with? What matchup are you most looking forward to? But with that being said, as always, if you enjoy this kind of content, I'm going to be here throughout the whole season covering NFL content. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.